Jen and I are here today to talk to you about a subject that may be on everybody's mind. And Jen, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Melissa?
It is fabulous. It's just another great day here in the Twin Cities in 2020. 2020, the weirdest year in recorded history, I
God,
think.
you have that right. I know. It's wacky.
But that's sort of what we want to talk about today here on the Pro Organizer podcast. We want to talk about 2020 and some of the realities and also why this is a great time to start a pro organizing business, which some people might not think is the case. And Jen and I want to dispel a few of the things that may be floating around your brain if you're thinking about starting or growing a pro organizer business. And Jen, you have been around the industry a lot longer than I have, but have you felt anything like particularly different about this year versus other years that you've been in, other than the obvious, it's a very unusual year?
Well, yeah. So first things first, where do I start? But secondly, yeah, I do have some thoughts about it. One of the things that over the last 4 years with Pro Organizer Studio, like when consistently, in any time of good or bad, when people come and say, I'm finally really ready to start this business, it's usually because they have had a very clarifying experience. Like they have finally said no more to a career that they don't love, or something has changed in their family situation, or like once the kids are out of the house, they're like, okay, now this is me time. Usually there's some kind of triggering event that makes them say, what is it that I really want? And I know for myself that 2020 has been that type of triggering event, like on steroids. Like
Yes.
and some really great things have come out of that. Some have been very negative, but I am betting a lot of money that there are a lot of people out there right now who are like, you know what? Screw this. I've been thinking about going out on my own and doing this as a business forever. And I am not going to accept anymore like X, Y, and Z, whatever it is that they have been tolerating in their life. Or maybe this is the time where, let me just give an example. They're like, maybe teaching school is not really up my alley anymore.
Yes.
There's just so much like going on. And they could be taking those same skills around the organizing and the coaching and all the things that go into being a great teacher. And they can finally see like, yes, this actually is the direction that I feel my heart and soul and body are pulling me towards.
Yeah.
So when you ask the question, is this a good time to start a business? Well, first of all, my thought is if you're 100% sure that you want something, there's never a bad time to get moving on that goal, because it's like, what's the holdup? What is holding you back? How do you feel about that?
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think the thing that I have personally thought about 2020 is I think it has taught me and many other people that the importance of happiness in your career, in your life, to have something that you are happy to do every single day is incredibly important in what could be a very dark time for you personally or you and your community. And having something that you feel really good about and that really validates you as a person in your career, I think is totally, totally critical. And you're exactly right. I think that what a lot of people have told me is, they maybe had a career change, not of their choice because of what happened with COVID. And so it is for those people that clarifying moment, like you said, the clarifying moment that I had in my corporate career that caused me to be a professional organizer. And this may be a jumping off point for people to say, you know what, I actually want to start doing something on my own. And I think what we've shown is that a lot of people think that entrepreneurial life is potentially scary because you have to create things on your own and it is a little bit of the unknown. But at the same time, I think we've shown this year that anything can happen and your traditional quote safe job might also not be safe. So it's a great time to throw your hat in the ring and try something different and really try to control your own destiny.
I couldn't agree more. Also, I know probably the next thought on somebody's mind though is like, I'm 100% sure I want to do this, but the fear immediately is, but are people paying for this right now? So
Absolutely.
let's talk to those people. Are people paying for this right now? Melissa, you said you have more calls than you can even deal with.
Yes, that is true. And that is not just me. That is, so this is knowledge that we have gained from people that are in my professional circle as professional organizers. It's people that we know. We have over 500 organizers in our Inspired Organizer program who are reporting that they are having record months in some cases. And that is partially because people are home all the time. And people are realizing that their home environment also needs to be one that supports them and supports a different life than it needed to support a year ago. And so we have
Yes. Okay,
organizers.
that's really huge.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like we should talk about just that
sure.
alone. Like, the importance of home could not be more clear. And
Yes.
then people, like, instead of going out and traveling and doing the things that they normally would do, like, they are actually looking around and going, wow, it would be nice if this actually made me feel good and I could find stuff. And if I get rid of this junk I never liked.
Right. People are home all the time staring at their four walls and going, I don't like what I see around me, and they have the time to make the changes. That's the other thing, is they do in most cases have that ability because they're not going on vacation, they're not perhaps leaving the house to go to work. They've had to create a home office out of nothing. And so you have to make your house work for you. And those people are in a lot of cases going, I actually need help to do this because I'm overwhelmed. I don't know how to start. I don't know where to put these things. I don't know what I need. And professional organizers are able to capitalize on that. And capitalize on that in sometimes a different way. If you're sitting there going like, hey, I don't really want to go into someone's house, or maybe a client doesn't want me in their house, I can tell you I have had massively successful sessions with clients on Zoom. And you may think that that's not possible, but I promise you it is. You can remote organize someone via Zoom and FaceTime and all these different technologies we have. And that enables you also not only to go into houses of people that may not be comfortable, but enables you to go all over, literally the world, if you wanted to. You have a friend in Australia, organize someone in Australia from
True.
Oklahoma, whatever. You can do whatever you want, which I think is great.
So another thing, just touching on those fears and concerns, let's just discuss like the whole, like, being in person. What are the safety precautions? Like, I think there is, if you're just thinking about starting the business and you don't have experience in the first place yet of what it's like to work with clients, like, you might be thinking, and then layer on top of that, like, social distancing, wearing a mask, is this even viable? Talk to us about what it's actually like to still work in houses and take those safety precautions.
Yeah. So it's really important to make sure that your client feels comfortable, that you feel comfortable. I think the most important thing is you get to make the rules. And so if there's a situation with any client where you don't feel comfortable about it, you can say, hey, I don't think that this is going to work right now for in person. But for those people that you do feel comfortable with, masking up is the most important thing. And it's the easiest thing to do. What I would tell you is I've had to experiment with a lot of different masks. This is real granular. But I've had to experience. Yeah, I've had to experience.
A popular question in our group about what are the best masks. Yeah.
Right. But experimenting with different masks that are breathable, but still provide you the amount of protection that you need. I will also tell you, I take what I call breathing breaks. Like occasionally I'll just say, I need to run outside for like 2 minutes and just take my mask off, get some fresh air, breathe a little bit, go back in the house. But the other thing too is it is a little harder in houses to keep distance, but you just try really hard to make sure that you're not crowding each other, that, you know, if you're in a closet, that you're not both in the closet at the same time. Like, we do try to take some of those precautions so that everybody feels like they're safe, and tons of hand washing during the session too. So
totally. Another big tip, and then I want to come back and ask you a few more questions, but another big tip that I would love for everybody to keep in their pocket is, you know, at the time of this recording is like mid-November, you know, there may very well be statewide shutdowns or local to your area, like going back to like essential businesses only. And something you guys may want to keep in mind is that some of our students were having some of those best months even during those times because they were really focusing on moving jobs, and moving services were still considered essential in a lot of areas. Now, I still want all of you listening to this to, you know, really do your due diligence and make sure that that is true in your area, because I can't say for certain how that all plays out with local and state stuff. But a shutdown in itself does not mean that your business has to shut down. It may mean that you need to refocus on those moving clients, which, by the way, are some of the most fun jobs, packing, unpacking, like
I love
people
it.
still have, yeah, people still have to move. And then going back to what Melissa said, offering virtual services, even if you've never done it before, it is just a way to help people who imagine how, if you know, as an organized person, if you are feeling scattered and stressed, imagine how a disorganized person, how much they honestly just need to talk to somebody and see a face and be able to just sort of have their thought process with somebody, even on Zoom. It is better than nothing, because they are not going to make the progress all on their own. Like, you might think,
Correct.
like, sure, they could just do it on their own, but they're not going to.
They're not going to. Yeah, they weren't going to before. And they're definitely also, I will say too, right now, yes, people might have more time at home, but they also, my brain is stressed all the time. And I think a lot of people are in that same boat, right? There is a lot of emotional stress this year. You know, we've got the unsure situation about Corona. We have had an election. We have had a lot of things that are in our life that are not typically in our life that can cause stress. And so for someone that is disorganized, that stress may be exacerbated, and they really have an even harder time figuring out, where do I start? And the Zoom sessions, I'm telling you, I had one on Saturday, and it was like transformative for these people, because for exactly the reasons that you're saying. They got to talk out some of their frustrations. We got an action plan together. And then for the entire rest of that day, they went to go enact that action plan, sent me text messages at the end of the day showing me their beautiful living room. And it was fantastic. So it's a very viable business model.
Well, let me tell a quick story that I have not actually shared on the podcast yet. Maybe
Oh,
we need
very
to do
exciting.
a whole separate podcast about this. But I hired one of my own Inspired Organizer students because, let me give you 3 words, well, maybe 4: kids at home doing virtual school.
Yeah.
Just about killed me. Like
Yeah.
that I was on struggle bus, like level 100, and just really put out like a call for who I am hiring a virtual organizer right now. I need somebody. I don't care where they live. I don't need you to come to my house, but I need you to work on me, because I have to oversee this process that I cannot, for the life of me. And I like to figure out systems and plans and stuff. I could not figure out how to manage. And that was literally life-changing, because she helped me see kind of where the bottlenecks in not just our organization of homework and desk and all that physical stuff. She helped me see the bottleneck in my own mindset around asking for help and around setting boundaries. It was so good. And so that's the type of thing that when you guys are thinking about, you don't have to shift everything about your business, but think about where people are at mentally right now and realize that they cannot do all this on their own. And so just saying like, oh, I'm a virtual organizer, that is maybe not enough. Speak to who the type of person is that needs that. Like, and use me as like a general example, because like I can see the value of it, and I went and put my money behind it because it was important to me to solve the problem.
Right.
End of story. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a really good point about telling people how it works and why it works, because there are possibly people out there that are like, well, I don't really want to have someone in my house, but how can someone organize me via Zoom? And you've got to tell them, this is how we do it. And developing that thought process of, what is my strategy for a virtual session? How am I going to run it? And then how am I going to follow up with those people? Because that may be different if you're in person. But getting that strategy, but also knowing that it works. And guess what? If you're not sure how it works, ask for advice. So we have forums where you can ask advice, reach out to other organizers in your area, pick people's brains, but use your community of people to say, I need some help. Help me figure out what this looks like.
That's so good. So the last question I want to ask you was, going back to just the topic of, let's say someone's listening right now and they're thinking, why would I start working on my business if I don't have time, or I'm not ready to launch it yet, or I wouldn't even be thinking about it until maybe next summer or whatever? Like, why bother? Well, first of all, they're listening to this podcast for a reason.
That's right.
So say that they don't have an urgent deadline, but that they're just sort of like, oh, I'm not sure if like right now is a good time for me personally. I've got all these other things going on. What is it about really starting to plan and dream and visualize in a strategic way that is so helpful?
Well, I think that for so many people, having I don't want to say it's a luxury of time because I know that there are a lot of things going on right now, but to
Yeah.
give yourself that time horizon to say, I am going to give myself a good amount of time to build a good foundation for this business, rather
Mhm.
than, let's say suddenly everything opens back up again and you're like, oh, I really want to start this business. And now I have a week to build a website and build social media and try to find clients. And whereas if you start now and build that foundation, you are
Mhm.
able to do things in a measured fashion. You're able to learn, you're able to look around and see what the market is around you. You're able to gain that knowledge. And building that strong foundation is going to make, when you start running that business, is going to make things so much more effective for you. And also, organizers, if you're good at organizing, you're probably a planner. In so many organizers' brains, it's better for them and they're more comfortable when they are able to plan and able to do things ahead of time. And so giving yourself that time versus stressing yourself out and rushing and trying to create a business in 2 weeks
Mhm.
when things get back together, I think is going to be helpful for people.
That's so true. And I also think that there is a big difference between when you're listening to the podcast, you're soaking up information, maybe kind of dipping your toe in the water and kind of imagining like, is this right for me? When will this be right for me? This sounds like something I'd love to do. You're sort of in that like dreaming
Dreamy. Yeah.
stage where you're like trying to learn. But there is a middle area. Like even if you're not ready, even if you're only listening to the podcast because you're not ready to actually start it yet, there is still a middle bridge where you're actually learning and putting things, you're still executing on things behind the
Yes.
scenes that are preparing your business to actually be successful. In your bit, there is so much more to your business than you being face to face with a client. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. That is why I created an entire course about it,
Right.
because it's about organizing the business side of it, which most
Yes.
people, unless they have done some other type of entrepreneurship before, it's all brand new to them. And so there's a lot to learn about, not just how to organize the client. That's like the tip
Yep.
of the iceberg. There's branding, marketing, selling,
Yes.
all of those things that go into it. And having that plan in place well before you ever actually intend to set foot in somebody's home is
Yep.
going to be like that foundation level, like most critical thing that's going to actually give you like calmness and confidence when you get
Yep.
there. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I will tell you that, what I always say to people is I made all the mistakes so that you don't have to. And one of the biggest mistakes I made when I started was being pretty casual about some of the back end stuff of my business, like
Mhm.
accounting and things like that, which then in my first tax year was a nightmare. like just all of those back end things, which I was very casual about. And I wish that when I had started, I would have had all of those systems in place and understood what I needed to do. And having that time to build those things and to plan and to understand what those things look like, to your point, is to
Yeah.
do research, to have the time to do the research, to have the time not to do it on the fly is super, super critical and would make you more successful in the end, by far.
So true. This is
Yes.
such a good conversation.
Yeah, I want people to know that it's certainly an unusual time, but sometimes in these unusual times are the best times to make a leap and to do a scary thing. And to take that thing that you've been thinking about and just say, I am going to take a leap and I'm going to make an investment in myself and in my happiness and go do it. And
Mhm.
I am super passionate about this industry in particular because of how important home has become to us this
Oh,
year.
that is so true. That is so true.
So,
Well, I firmly believe that the organizing industry is not going anywhere, because
correct.
until Target goes out of business, we're going to be solving problems. There's more stuff than people know what to do with.
100%.
And everybody still loves to shop. And really, I think another thing that became really, really clear to me this year, I always knew this, but that 2020 showed me that really professional organizers are really providing more of a mental health service than almost, if you don't think that the importance of mental health has been magnified by 1,000 this year, I don't even know. It's so critical, like recognizing the impact of like environments, on you, your family, your relationships. Like we're trying to do literally everything that we do in a house right now, working from
Yes.
home, schooling from home, trying to stay safe and healthy, and like, you know, getting a meal on the table. By the
Yep.
way, I'm like, I've signed up for the deliver everything life.
Listen, if curbside delivery goes away after this is over, I will cry actual
Oh no,
tears.
I don't ever want to shop in the store again. It's too much.
No, no, it's so great. Well, but the mental health piece is really important, and that's one thing that I have seen in some of my recent sessions with clients, and that is that you're an outside person for them,
Yeah.
and you know sometimes being able to be, even if you're not like, I usually hug my clients. Obviously, that's off the books right now, but being able to see another person that is not your family member, whether it's on Zoom or in person, I think has been a huge mental health help to clients too.
So true. So
Yeah.
true. Gosh, I bet your clients are so happy when they see you.
So I've gone back to virtual only, but it was nice for a while to be able to get out of my house and see people and be able to have some in-home services that are not my home. So,
So true. Yeah, and that's another thing is that we don't say often enough that it feels really, really good to be hands-on and to help people
oh
because
my
it's not
gosh,
your
yes.
stuff. It's not your stuff. It's not your emotional baggage. And you're just like, wow, I made an impact today. And that alone has to feel really good. Like in a time where we're like, okay, I'm like trying to make, you know, life happen. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
walking around in circles and I'm not really clear. There's something about walking into somebody else's house where you're like, oh, I'm super clear now. Like I'm in my
100.
zone, feel like really good. They like really love me and value me. Like that's a really validating experience. And like, and if that's the kind of career that you've been wanting,
Yeah.
let's start this business now. Don't wait until COVID
Yep.
is over because I don't know what that would even mean. And you can be making progress towards, even if it is those baby steps towards that dream, like
Yep.
absolutely do it right now.
I said that in the workshop that you and I have that we'll link people to, but I said that in the workshop is I had a great job, but I realized I wasn't actually helping people. I was
Mm.
helping people by making spreadsheets for them. But I
Yeah.
like what's great about professional organizing is you actually help human people in your community live a better life and be happier and have a better family life and have better mental health and it like really is so life affirming. Like, I
Yes.
think there's an episode of Seinfeld that says you can never actually do a charitable act because you actually get something out of a charitable
Mm.
act. And that's how
That's
I
it.
feel about organizing is like, yeah, I get something out of it too.
So
Not only is my client happy, but I get to be happy that I made them happy. So,
totally. Oh yeah. Oh, it's definitely one of those, it's one of those jobs that like ticks all of the boxes. Like you get to be creative, you're problem
yep.
solving, you're burning calories, and you're getting paid.
Yes.
Like how much better
Yeah.
can it be? Mm.
So, one of the things that we just talked about is you and I have recently done a workshop where we talk about, you know, all the aspects of a professional organizing business, different things, very different things than we talked about today. But one of the other
Mhm.
things that we have for people besides this workshop is obviously we have our Inspired Organizer course. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about not just the course, but the actual community of people, because I think that community is what has been really important during this year.
Well, Melissa, you know how they say like the best way to learn a language is to like literally just move to the country and just
Yes.
full immersion?
Yes.
That's what Inspired Organizer is for professional organizers. If you want to run this like a real business, you need to get yourself inside the community and fully immerse yourself in it now. And so this is not like, it is a little bit, well, I see it both ways. It's very practical for one thing, because you have
Yes.
all of this support and content and search, but it also is a little woo woo in some aspects, because it's like, you know what, if you can visualize somebody else seeing their win and you can imagine that you can do it, that belief becomes part of your identity and you go out there and do it. Actually, that's not woo woo, that's science. But
That's
however
just,
you
yeah.
want to look at it, like however you want to look at it, the absolute fastest way to get yourself somewhere is to get in proximity of other people who are already doing the thing.
Yep.
So that's the magic of what we have. And
Yeah.
like, I love, we, like you said, we did recently, you know, hit 500 members, and I believe that they're I mean, these are quality people because they
Yes.
chose to invest in themselves. And so you're not, it's very different vibe than like all of the other freebie groups out there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's the kind,
100.
if you want to attract clients that are investing in themselves, then it's nice that you're around other people who also value like self self-education and self-improvement in that same way. And that's what I really love about this group. And then you
Yeah.
have more practical sort of like, what is your favorite product, or seeing how other people have handled a similar client situation. We have so much like past archives in there that it's like all of that knowledge and wisdom is at your fingertips, that you don't have to spend your own hundreds or thousands of hours acquiring when it's all there
Yes.
for you. So yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, because I feel super strongly about that part.
Absolutely. Well, and that community too, not only is it just learning and knowledge, but it's also cheerleading and support. And it's just, like you said, it's science, it's math. We are able to see that there are people that are having 5-figure months. And even during this time, we
Yep.
are able to see people that are building and growing their businesses. We are able to support each other through, the good times. We just did a survey of our community. And one of the questions that we asked was, are you currently actively engaged in your business, or are you taking a break? And 90% of the people that answered were like, no, I'm all in it. I'm doing my business. I'm not taking a break. So it's an active community of people who are running their businesses, and in all different size communities, in all different size, whether it's side hustle, whether it's part-time, whether it's full-time. We have everybody, established businesses and brand new. So it's a great community to learn from.
That's, yeah, so true. So true. So it's not just my wisdom in there. It's like the course, like, yes, I did create that content, but what has been built around it from like people's experiences of like, oh, I'm gonna take this risk because Jen took this risk, and then they implement it, and then they take it even further than I did. And I'm just like, boom, that's
Yep.
very gratifying for me. But also all of that together is part of the value of that program, which I just think is just, if you, especially for the type of person with just struggling with confidence, or feeling like your friends and family don't necessarily understand what it is you're doing, this
Yep.
is where you need to be, because you're going to be like with your people who get you.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, and you got to have people, like that's part of the journey. And that's another lesson from this year, like 2020, is me going, my friends are the people who are making my life happen right now, because I would not
Yep.
feel sane without people that I could not like have. And this is not just business but personal, just the girl talk, like heart to hearts,
Yep.
like are critical. And I know a lot of people have found, not just accountability partners, but like lifelong friends in this program. So I
100%.
love that, and I'm very proud of that. And it's amazing to just continue to nurture it and see people, like you said, that are meeting and exceeding their goals, and then doing things that they a
Yeah.
year ago would have not ever considered, you know?
Well, and I think right now there's a lot of negativity around social media. Like some people are on a social media hiatus, that type of thing. This is a community that is truly uplifting and positive, and it is a place where you can go where it is a sanctuary on the internet
Yeah.
versus a place that stresses you out. So,
Yeah, absolutely. That is how we created it to be, is, this
yep.
positive, uplifting, and supportive of all types of organizers at all types of levels with all different goals. It is meant to be very inclusive in all of those ways.
Yep. Okay, so we're starting a business. Oh, wait, we already did. We both already did it, but we want you guys to do it too. So we have our free workshop that we have talked about that talks about everything, just all sorts of subjects about how to build a business. You can go to inspiredorganizer.com to sign up for that. And we will put in all of the show notes where you can find us on all of the different corners of the internet. And Jen, as always, lovely to talk to you.
I love this. Having a co-host it's just fun. Like, this is
Listen,
nice.
it's girl talk. Like you said,
It
we need our
is.
friends. We need our friends.
I know.
I could talk to
Well,
myself on the computer screen, but that's not as exciting. So,
you're exactly right. This has been wonderful. I'm glad you guys all joined in to listen and, virtually sort of hang out with us.
yes, it's Pro Organizer Studio Podcast on
Yes.
Facebook. So head
Podcast.
over there and we will see you on the internet. All right. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.